breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty. Mornings on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Port City 311. This is a new initiative by the Shreveport City government, Mayor Tom Arsenault, on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline. Mayor, tell us about this complaint. Is it a complaint line? I hate that phrase.
It is really a report a concern line.
Okay.
And what we've done is we've completely changed over the system that we formerly used. That we had a system called C-Click Fix that you basically got on from the website. And so what we've done is the background of that, you still hit the button on the website, report a concern. And when you do that, it will take you, but what's behind that is the Port City 311 on the website. But we also wanted to make it more convenient and effective for citizens to do it in a mobile app. And so the IT department has been working on this mobile app for quite a number of months, and we launched it yesterday so that people can go and get Port City 311 on their phones, set up an account, and they can report concerns. And I heard earlier that perhaps one of you has done so.
Yep.
One of us.
Take a wild guess which one, Mayor.
I think perhaps it might have been Aaron.
Maybe it was. That was my interest.
Here's my biggest question: how did it work?
It was impressive, and I could choose. Do I want you to email me back the progress, or do I want you to text me? And I chose text. And so immediately after reporting my concern, it says your request, and it gives me the number of my concern / road maintenance with Shreveport, Louisiana has been created, and it gives me a link to click on my phone to go follow it. I assume I'll get a text message when it's complete or when they're working on it or when they've assigned. I don't know, how much info I'll get. I'm going to be watching it, and I'm going to see from this date, October 16th, to see how long it takes to fix. And I hope it. And I don't want it to be treated as if it's me. You follow me? I want it to just do it.
No. Actually, it's an electronic system. It doesn't know it's you.
Cool. Well, that's even better.
And it's about Night Street.
Well, it's a different thing. It's not. No, there's a monster. I don't want to tell you because then you might sick somebody on it. I want to see how.
Oh, sorry. It's not. It's about Fair Park. We don't know the mascot. Yeah.
No, it's not. But the construction's going good, by the way, on Night Street. They're doing a really great job. I'm excited about that. So anybody can report. It looks like you can do it. I don't know that you can do it anonymous though, right?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm guessing that you do create some kind of an account.
Right.
Which means that ultimately somebody could, do the research and find out about it if they wanted to inside the city. But I really don't know the details on that.
Yeah, I did have to put my name and a either email address or phone number, which I'm fine with. And I like the fact that they're going to keep me kind of up to date, because usually you'd send in a request and, hey, the street lights are out at, Fairfield and Kings, and I would never know, did they get it? Are they working on it? What's going on?
Correct.
And this is for street lights. This is for, any run the gamut, right?
It does. It will, and we're integrating it on the back end with our major departments: Public Works, Property Standards, Water and Sewer. Those are the ones that we get the most complaints, or the most reported concerns about.
I wanted to ask you about it on another front, because a lot of times you'll see on social media people will be reporting, I heard shots fired, and it may have been fireworks at a football game or something. Something else. This is not the place for that. If you hear something that could be a crime, you still need to call 911, right?
That's correct. And this is not going to be that immediate. But hopefully it'll be very quick, but it won't be that immediate.
And is your goal to inform the citizens when their problem is fixed, or do you keep us up to date throughout the process?
That's one you probably ought to talk to Shocker about, Shocker Creel, our IT director. I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, I'll find out on my particular complaint, I'm sure.
Wait, what's their name? Shocker?
Shocker Creel, yeah.
Shocker, Shocker Creel. That's her name.
She's amazing. An amazing
What a cool name.
Yeah, absolutely.
She is amazing. Yesterday, she handled her first press conference yesterday, and I thought she did a bang-up job.
Well, schedule her some time with us if you mention something to her today that we want her to come in and sit down and talk about the program and how's it going to work and what kind of changes, because I would love to talk to her more about what it's going to happen. Can I switch gears real quick? And I kind of gave you a little heads up. John Paul Young, the president of the Caddo Commission, is asking his colleagues to pass a resolution in support of the Friends of Fairgrounds Field. I find that a little odd that the commission is getting involved in something that really is city business. Does that bug you at all?
Actually, it does, particularly since the Caddo Parish Commission has a really large surplus. And if they want to really do something with Fairgrounds Field, they have the money to do it.
And you would welcome them to write you a check, right?
Absolutely. Or we could consider giving them the stadium, let them do it.
I suggested that on the radio. Why doesn't Shreveport give it to them? Can you do that?
We could make an arrangement to do that, because there's several issues. One is the cost of redoing it, and the second is the cost of maintaining it. And no one has come up with a plan to do or fund either one of those things. So before you be in favor of something, you ought to have the money to back it up.
And that's what I said. Even though I commend Friends of Fairgrounds Field for their heart and their efforts, there's still no money being brought to the table.
Correct.
And what really stood out to me, Mayor, was when you said even if we fixed up Fairgrounds Field, it still wouldn't be up to professional baseball standards. We still couldn't get a minor league team into town.
That is correct. The cost of that is multi-million dollars, and it is highly. And we don't have a team that would come. We look at an independent minor league team with the Rev deal, and as you know, that stadium cost was in the multiple over $50 million, and that is not something that I think we can move forward with. The Friends of Fairgrounds Field made a presentation to the Capital Improvements Committee when we were looking at the bond issue. They recommended not to move forward with a proposition that would have done that. And my guess is, had we done a proposition like that, it would have failed.
Mayor Arsenault, I'm almost quoting John Paul Young here, and I don't know if you've heard it yet, but he said during the commission meeting, work session Monday, he said, haste makes waste, as our elders who run City Hall should know. I thought he was talking about somebody like you, perhaps. Does that offend you? Does that offend you?
Yeah, no, I'm not easily offended. I think that having wisdom means you are able to look at things objectively and see above the fray and look long term, and that's what we're doing here. The building is in terrible condition. Even if it were restored to its original grandeur, it would not support itself. And there are times when you just have to say, gee, I sure wish I could do this, but I can't.
But we have to mention here, and I'm in your corner on this one, because this was going to be demolished under Mayor Adrian Perkins. We had a contract, the work had started. I don't think Mayor Perkins would be considered an elder who runs City Hall. He probably is younger than John Paul Young, correct?
It's not age. It doesn't refer to age.
I haven't compared their ages, but they are certainly in the same group of people.
So I found it ironic. Where were you 2 years ago when we started the demo work? So I'm a little bit mystified by this. And would you find it out of line, as having been on the city council, for the city council to pass a resolution to tell the parish commission how to run the animal shelter? My
general philosophy is I'm not going to ask somebody else what to do with their business unless it directly affects me as a body, or unless I've solved all of my problems. And when I solve all of my issues, then I can start telling other people how to solve theirs.
He did
say that's a no.
He did say those bats who were displaced from their home are now in homes all across Shreveport. Are you hearing that at all? I mean, he says there's bats now in his home. There's bats in his neighbor's home. Are you hearing that from folks at all?
Yeah, there are bats are indigenous to our area. You know, we have bats. I have bats at my house, and it precedes any of the issues with Fairgrounds Field. So I think to make that leap of faith is a leap of faith without any substance.
Well, bats are also very beneficial, just an FYI.
Mm-hmm.
They eat mosquitoes.
Yes,
right.
Yes, they do.
And
absolutely.
Other nuisances.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, John Paul Young is going to join us shortly after 8 o'clock. We'll hear why he's putting this before his commissioners, and perhaps we'll have to do a follow-up with you if he's got better points after that. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Mayor Tom Arsenault, Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710keel.com.
Back on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Let me do something. Let me do something first before you enter.
New. Go right ahead, dear.
My friend Jerry Bowman, former city councilman. How about them Cowboys?
Oof.
I went right for it, didn't I? I went right for the jugular.
Jerry, I apologize, starting right off the bat.
He's going to hang up on us, Mike.
I had one friend over there, a guy at least.
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, congratulations on the appointment, interim school board member now. Of course, you're a former city council member. You've been in city government for a long time. What made you want to go to this school board?
Well, first, the current, past district chair, the guy who had to see Darren Dixon, school board member, District 7, he gave me a call and asked me would I consider that. And after talking to some of the constituents in my district, in my neighborhood, they told me, yeah, I think you should do it. And I had a couple of phone calls from a few other people, and they said the same, even a couple of teachers that are in District 7, and I told them sure.
You take office immediately. You got up on the dais. You're now the member. Do you plan to run for the office in the spring?
Yeah, that was the big thought, just to do it interim. And no, I think I'm going to go ahead and run. No, I am going to go ahead and run for it.
Okay. Caddo Parish has got a new superintendent, got a lot of hurdles ahead. We have a lot of failing schools. What does Jerry Bowman bring to the table to try to address so many of our failing schools that are failing kids, quite frankly, Jerry, in the inner city?
I know, and that's, it's heartbreaking, and I congratulated Keith Burton, and I think that I looked over his plan for his first 100 days, and I'd like to see him accomplish that while receiving some updates throughout that time. I also believe that meeting with the teachers and with the principals, actually I'll meet with one principal today, and listen to their concerns and their needs, and I want to help support them with their needs. They're the ones who are there with them every day. They know what their needs are. I just want to help them accomplish getting that. Like I said yesterday, a lot of kids are just not going to college. They're not going to make it to college. They're barely getting through high school, and I get that. I took up a couple of trades myself, and I think we need to get trades and things back into the school system as well, starting that in high school. Whether that's welding or whatever that trade is, I think we need to do that.
Also, Mr. Burton has mentioned making some of the schools academies, like from kindergarten through 8th grade, and having them specialized academies. Have you
like
talked?
Fair Park is now,
right? But Fair Park is kind of private, but these would still be run by the school board. Do you support that kind of plan? Have you talked to him about? Have you delved into that much?
Actually, yeah, I have, and I think that K-8 models are great. It promotes continuity of learning, and you can also, foster those relationships with the students and the teachers, along with the community. And I think that'll make it be a close-knit society promoting most of those needed social skills.
The state has stepped in. Obviously, Cade Brumley came earlier this year and announced the state was going to be essentially taking over some schools. His plan was, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to actually have to close some of your schools. It was a pretty heavy hand, and he's not going away. Do you support those efforts? I mean, he's essentially calling Caddo to task, saying, you guys have got to do better.
Well, and in that realm is true. We need to do better, and I think we can, but we have to all be on the same page. I don't want to, I want to get some feedback from other school districts as well that are doing better, that have, B schools, A schools, and see if we can adopt some of those procedures that they have at their schools over into our schools that are failing. I don't mind looking out. I'm not that person just to hold stuff to myself or just, stay in my own district. I want to learn and see what's going on in other people's districts. Can I make it work in mine?
Speaking of your district, Jerry Bowman, interim Caddo Parish School Board member for District 7. What schools in your district are you most concerned about?
At this, and I think it's like kids. I have to love them all the same and treat them a little different.
Right.
That's a great answer.
But I think that Bethune Park is really near and dear to my heart. My parents went to those schools, and to see those kids failing, and there are some great kids. I went and sat with them a few times and listened to them talk and interact during school. But it's just some things that are missing, and those the teachers have to tell me, the principal has to tell me, and I'm meeting with Mr. Harrison today. Exactly what his plans are, what does he think he's missing and needing at the school, whether that's, parent involvement, whether that's, more I don't know if it's computer, if it's technical, whatever it is, they need to speak to me and let me know so I can help them attain their goals.
Jerry Bowman, new interim school board member, let me ask you this. This is a big trend happening across the country in many states, and of course here in Louisiana, is the money to follow the child. School choice. People can take their kids and take them to private schools, and the state will now pay. Do you support that concept in any kind of form? Do you think it's going to ultimately hurt public education?
I think it has in the past, and now that some kids will be able to go there, I think they'll see that public schooling is pretty much the way to go. Some kids needed that. My grandkid went to private school for a few years, and at that particular time, I think he was able to get that one-on-one from his teacher a lot. And but now he's going back to public schools. He's able to interact with other kids real well, and his grades, he's an A student. So I don't know. I can't put that. I don't want to say yes or no, but I'm going more towards the no. I think some kids will go, but I don't think it'll hurt the public schooling right now.
Apologize for my opening comments. I really am sorry.
No. I'm DC for real. I'm Cowboy for life.
But Jerry, thank you so much, Jerry Bowman, interim Caddo Parish School Board member, but you'll be running for the position. Thanks for talking with us this morning.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. Have a good one.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
President of the Caddo Parish Commission, John Paul Young, responded to Mayor Tom Arsenault on the Fairgrounds Field resolution. Hear what he's got to say. Very interesting. Coming up just after the break. Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, and on the free KEEL app.
Now more breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, and on that free download, the free KEEL News app. Joining us this morning from the Caddo Parish Commission President, John Paul Young, on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker hotline. Is it John Paul or John? What do you go by?
It's John Paul.
John Paul,
good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for jumping on the phone with us this morning. You've introduced a resolution in support of Friends of Fairgrounds Field. Tell us about this and why you decided to do this.
Well, thank you for asking. I was invited by the Friends of Fairgrounds Field to an informational event in which they described their plans in a rough way for improving the stadium instead of demolishing it. And they said that they had not really received any traction when they had approached the city about it. The city seemed sort of set on a plan to demolish it, and they wanted other public officials and members of the community to express their support if they supported it. So I offered to put a resolution of support for the idea of preserving and improving that landmark on our agenda to see if the other commissioners would support it by majority. And that's sort of the current state of where it is from the commission's viewpoint. On our Monday meeting, we moved it to discussion in the long-range planning committee, which will meet tomorrow. And that'll be a public meeting where we'll talk about the state of the plan of the Friends of Fairgrounds Field and whether it looks physically and economically viable to commissioners, and would be the kind of thing that eventually the Caddo Parish Commission and maybe other governments and the private sector would want to put money into to support.
So you're in favor of using parish money possibly to save it?
Oh, yeah. Possibly. It is a public resource. It's owned by the public. It's owned by the public of Shreveport. It's been managed by the city of Shreveport and SPAR for decades. We see how well that management has gone. I don't think that we should tear things down in a hurry because, as you know, haste makes waste. And we're not likely to build we're not likely to build anything there if it's torn down. And although it is an eyesore right now, having a blank, unused parking lot there would not be vastly better, in my opinion. And, of course, I remember Captain Stadium as a kid, spending a lot of time there.
Right.
And it's a great building.
The mayor told us,
to go to.
John Paul, the mayor told us earlier this morning that he'd be amenable to working out a deal for the commission to take over ownership of Fairgrounds Field. Is that something you would be interested in?
I think that the parish is a little hesitant to take over ownership of it right now because we're not sure exactly of the health status of the building. We don't want to buy a very expensive lawsuit because of all the back guano and stuff. If that's all been removed and it is actually a safe building, that would be, that would be good. I would not mind having it transferred to the commission or to the parish government or to an LLC that could manage it in conjunction with the parish. I think ultimately it should be either managed by a set of governments who appoint a board, something like that, or by a nonprofit or LLC in the private sector.
When you say haste makes waste, I have to say, we had a contract to demo it under Adrian Perkins more than 2 years ago. So this has not been – why was there no resolution 2 years ago to support these folks?
Well, nobody had approached me about it 2 years ago. I was not aware of the city position of it at that time. I do think that in order to do it in order to demolish something that can't be rebuilt. You should be sure that that is the more beneficial of the options. So you have to analyze costs and benefits. I think 2 or 3 years ago, a structural assessment was done by an engineer, and this was maybe a little bit pre-COVID, and the estimate for just improving it to a safe level at that time was, I think, $2 million. I would assume that would be doubled now because of inflation and all the rises in costs. I think it would probably be more along the lines of $10 million to make it a nice community facility again. But without scrutinizing a plan, without giving people an opportunity to inspect it again, it seems that tearing it down, which is an irrevocable move right now, would be a little bit hasty. I think the Friends of Fairgrounds Field are going to want to ask, and for us to ask maybe on their behalf, for something like a 90-day stay of execution so that they can inspect it, put together a real plan with real numbers based on that structure, and then try to gauge community support and get pledges for saving the building.
This has been fought in the courts. The city has won.
The issue in the courts is about the histoplasmosis risk from the back guano that's accumulated there over the decades.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, John Paul, the elephant in the room, and you know what I'm going to ask you, is all these resolutions that the Caddo Parish Commission, and this is one of many, as you well know, that this is essentially a city business that would have this would have.
No, it's not city business. This building belongs to the public of the people of Shreveport. It does not belong to the city. It is managed by the city. It belongs to the people who built it.
But your resolution would have no teeth. It wouldn't have any impact.
Resolutions never have teeth.
So folks are wondering, why do we keep passing these resolutions when we have bigger problems that the parish government should be addressing? Can you help us with that?
What's a bigger problem that we should be addressing?
Our animal shelter needs improvement. Mm-hmm. People complain about that all the time.
We just improved it. It's got a brand new HVAC system. We've just made permanent our spay-neuter law. We're doing something like 50 spay-neuters for cats a day now.
Our juvenile justice complex. We need more bed space for juvenile offenders. It's a huge problem in our community. That's under y'all's jurisdiction. There's a lot of things
Yeah, the juvenile beds are an open question. A majority of citizens do not seem to agree that we need more beds to prevent crime there.
We need to do better on addressing juvenile offenders, don't you think?
We certainly do need to do better. We're doing a lot more for juveniles through the harbor right now. If you'll check the recent agendas for the Caddo Parish Commission meetings, you'll see that we've beefed up our support of the harbor. We're doing new incentives for kids to come in and get the help that they need, and we're getting medical testing for them because a lot of them have STDs, regrettably. So we're taking action on that, and I've actually led the charge on each one of those issues.
Well, like I've said before, and on the show, I commend Friends of Fairgrounds Field, but the bottom line is, as much as we might love and have nostalgic feelings for the facility, nobody's coming to the table with money. You just said, it's going to need at least $10 million to get it back up to workable condition. Nobody's bringing that. And you said that they're asking for a 90-day stay of execution, if you will. Well, it's been in this condition for years and years. Why now? Why haven't they done this before?
Well, I think the Friends of Fairgrounds Field has been active for a while, and they have talked to many people in the private sector about it. I talked to just a few people in the private sector yesterday who told me that they wanted to contribute either in kind or in cash, and through using the facility,
And I'd love to see it saved.
Right now the pressure's on because they're planning to demolish it soon, and that's a time when a government like the parish government that's not in charge of this facility might step in and say, hey, we wish we could save this. It seems to me that the urgency to tear it down is pretty minimal right now since, 90 days is not going to make a difference to the fact that we've lived with an eyesore for decades. By the way, the eyesore was not created by anybody other than the party that wishes to tear it down.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you so much for jumping on the phone with us, and
Sure.
We'll see what happens.
Sure, yeah. Well, I hope that we can not commit suicide by bulldozer in haste as a city, but that's my goal.
John Paul Young.
Thank you, sir.
President of the Caddo Parish Commission. Thank you so much. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Back stories of the day with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
By the way, did you watch any of the interview? Kamala's interview?
No,
Aaron.
I've seen clips. On Fox?
I pulled some clips.
Okay.
Next hour, I want to get to that.
Okay.
Because, it's just unbelievable.
Did she answer anything?
No, she did not. I'll as Dan Bongino says, I'll bring receipts.
Okay.
I love that. Richard Nelson going to join us, Louisiana Revenue Secretary, coming up after the local news, top of the hour. Mm-hmm. Exciting tax reforms coming to Louisiana.
Lowering the taxes you pay.
He's got that information and more coming up. Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710keel.com. .101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty in studio. Revenue Secretary Richard Nelson joining us. First of all, good morning, sir. You look very nice.
Good morning, thanks. I had to wear my tie for the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw you on television earlier. So.
Yeah, busy man. The tax plan that the governor is presenting, I think it's the Richard Nelson tax plan. Isn't that what you were pitching when you were running for governor?
I've been working on this tax stuff for a pretty long time, and I think that's when Governor Landry asked me to be the Secretary of Revenue, I think he knew that I had focused on this. He understood that this was a big problem in the state that's held us back for a long time. Obviously, when I was campaigning for governor, too, I was pointed out how many people we continue to lose. I think we lost 80,000 people or so in the last 2 years. And we had to do something big to try and fix that problem. And I think the tax code is a major concern, a major driver of that, because it just keeps businesses from coming here. It makes successful businesses leave, and smart kids, they go to college, and then guess what they do? They go get a job in Houston, or they go get a job in Virginia. They leave the state. So the idea behind this whole plan is to try and make it so that Louisiana can compete for those jobs, for those businesses, so that we can grow the state again.
You want to phase out the income tax. My question would be, is it too difficult to just do away with it altogether? Is it too big of a bite?
Because you're going to a 3% flat tax, is that correct?
Yes. So I think to do it all at once is not really practical. But what you do is lay the foundation of a successful tax policy, and over time you'll be able to reduce that rate. I think within the next 10 years, if we set it up with a flat rate so that everybody is paying the same rate, everybody's in the same boat. I think in states that have done that, you've seen them be able to continuously reduce that rate over time. And I think that is how you actually, in the end of the day, get rid of it. But that's our plan, is really to just make it a competitive tax code with a flat rate. So the growth that we recognize once the state can actually compete with these other states, we'll be able to lower that rate over time. But
you would be increasing sales taxes on things right now we don't pay sales, a myriad of things, dog grooming, and the list goes. I mean, folks will say that this is going to hurt the lower income folks who right now don't pay any income tax at all. Will they now start to pay? Who is going to be still free of income tax?
So the tax plan as we currently have it proposed, where you have that flat 3% rate, you'd also have a $12,500 standard deduction. So that would basically wipe out the tax liability for the bottom 20% of the state. So they would get a pretty big benefit from that. We'd also double that standard deduction for senior citizens. So if you're over 65, the first $25,000 of regular income you wouldn't pay tax on, plus another $12,000 on retirement income. So it's a pretty significant tax cut for seniors, where if you make up to $74,000 in retirement income as a retired couple, you're not going to pay any income tax at all. From a sales tax standpoint, if you're getting your dog groomed, I think you're probably not you probably have some disposable income. So taxing those kind of things,
right.
Which is what most of the services that we're trying to make up the revenue with, dog grooming, landscaping, those are things that, really you have disposable income in order to do. Car washes.
You're making the rich pay their fair share.
So, you're getting a tax cut, if you're in the higher income brackets, you are getting a tax cut. Proportionally, it may not be as big as the guys at the bottom, but that extra money can go to pay for these services and stuff. And most of the time, we tax 8 services currently in Louisiana. We're going to add, some more. Most people don't know what those 8 services are. Parking is one of them, for example. And so it's really shifting from taxing somebody's success and somebody's labor through income to taxing consumption, which is a choice, right? And that's what we'd like to do. And especially those choices that are not necessarily, there really are choices. It's not something you have to buy. It's not going to the grocery store or something like that. It's buying, getting your dog groomed. That's something that if you don't want to pay it, cut fluffy yourself.
Well, everybody touts Texas. No personal income tax, but their property taxes are much, much higher.
Yes.
Is that something Louisiana is looking at as far as property tax as well?
No, we really don't touch property tax at all in this reform. And you don't really have to go to property tax to make up that difference. I think right now we're trying to look at, how do we broaden the base of that sales tax, really get rid of a lot of these exemptions and credits and everything that really drive the rates up so high, and then using those, phasing out some of those exemptions, looking at states like Texas that tax additional services and saying, hey, if we bring that here to Louisiana, how can we make our whole tax code more competitive? And you can see, places like Texas, Tennessee, like that's where people are moving. Florida, they have no income tax, so being able to lower our income tax at that flat rate, I think is something that will be attractive both to the businesses and to the individuals that are looking to move.
Richard Nelson, Revenue Secretary. Is this revenue neutral?
It's not never revenue neutral. We have about a $100 million general fund reduction built into the math on the statutory components of this. And so the constitutional piece would actually end up being a net gain, but not in overall revenue, but to the general fund. So the money the legislature has control over, it would free up a lot of that money, but it would still be, over a $600 million revenue cut across the board. So there's pretty significant revenue cuts across the board for all of these things, because we're looking at getting rid of the corporate franchise tax, which is basically a wealth tax on corporations. That's about $400 million. And so there is a lot of moving pieces to this, but the constitutional amendment part frees up a lot of revenue that's really locked up in the Constitution, and so it gives the legislature more flexibility and allows us to give some of those tax cuts.
Can you stay with us? I want to talk about the film tax credits when we get back. Pretty important for our community.
Richard Nelson, Revenue Secretary, in the studio. Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back with more of Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
In studio, Richard Nelson, Revenue Secretary for the state of Louisiana, Mike and McCarty. Richard, one thing, a huge issue for a lot of people are the film tax credits. A lot of people don't care. But, obviously Curtis Jackson cares. He's invested millions in Shreveport. Met
with the governor yesterday to talk about it, apparently.
And the mayor. Are those going away? Is he's going to have to pack up and move to Atlanta?
So all of the LED, that Louisiana Economic Development, all those kind of corporate incentives and credits, those are all currently set to sunset in the tax plan in next June 30th. And so basically everybody that has anything in the pipeline right now, if you have a credit, if you have an application in, or if you get it in by that time, all of those under the current setup would at least continue to be honored. And really the idea is that in the next fiscal session that's coming up in the spring is that we come up with some kind of replacement for LED to continue to, I would say, to have tools in their toolbox to attract investment, to attract jobs. And I think that will be part of that discussion of what do we do moving forward. We spent a lot of money that the film tax credit, we spend about $180 million a year is what we've been spending for the last, at least the recent, since it was capped. But overall, we spent billions of dollars on the film tax credit. Most of that goes down to New Orleans. But there is obviously 50 Cent does have his studio, I think, project here in Shreveport. But yeah, it's part of the overall tax package of how do you make all of these things more competitive? How do you make the rates low? And I think how do you get the best return for the taxpayers? And I think especially for those LED incentives, that's what the session next year is going to focus on, is how do we rework some of these incentives so that they get the best bang for the buck for the taxpayers.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that. As the revenue secretary now, you know, that's kind of a wonky job, no offense, but you get down and look in the numbers and you can examine the $180 million we're spending. How do you measure whether we're getting it back in some kind of way? What are the metrics for doing that?
Sure. So we actually have to do a return on investment analysis, the Department of Revenue, that looks at, well, how much money are these guys paying in income taxes on their employees? How much are they paying in sales tax? What's the net benefit back to the state? And almost all of these incentive programs return about 10 cents on the dollar, right? So for every
$18 million is what we're getting?
Yeah, so you get $18 million about, you know, for the 180 that we put in. And so that's not a great deal in the current setup, and that's part of the reason why we're looking at changing the system. The other way to look at it is there's 150,000 corporations in Louisiana, and we basically raise the income tax rate on all of them in order to pay for some of these incentives. You know, and there's a pretty wide range of those, but that's really the best way to look at it, is like, well, if we want to incentivize any specific industry or anything to come here, we really have to raise the money somehow. It's not free, and so that requires us to raise the rate on the other 150,000 corporations, which I think that 180 million is almost 2% or 1.5% of the total corporate rate, right? So it's a significant amount of money.
Do you know what was discussed during the meeting with the governor? Have you been briefed on the Jackson meeting at all?
I think they said had a good conversation about what his investment was and how they can work together going forward. I was actually driving up here to Shreveport when they were meeting, so
okay.
I wasn't in there, but I heard it was a good meeting, and I think that hopefully something positive can come from it. Inventory
tax. We talked about it, I think, on the phone last week or the week before, that it's going to be kind of going away but it's up to the parishes. Is that how that's going to work?
Yes, and so this was a big debate. I mean, in my role in trying to get this tax reform stuff done, it's really balancing all these thousands of different, groups and interests of all trying to figure out how to get a more workable solution. And the local governments depend on the inventory tax, about $525 million across the state. Some more than others. I think most northern Louisiana parishes, with the exception probably of Caddo, maybe Bossier, they don't get very much money from the inventory tax. There's just not that much inventory there, right? Mm-hmm. But this is a very uncompetitive tax when you're looking at why doesn't, especially North Louisiana, have a lot of these big projects. Why do, kind of the car manufacturing stuff, why do they pack up and leave and, go to Texas or go somewhere else? The inventory tax is a big part of that. And so our solution was to let the locals opt out, but then also to provide them with an incentive to do that. So up to $15 million to make that election, which would make it about 40 parishes out of the 64 would be, it would be there in the financial interest to make that opt out, right, for the first 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it also is, the idea is to grow the pie, right? You make the state more competitive. You make each parish more competitive for projects when they make that opt out, because the inventory tax is very uncompetitive, and it just keeps especially those bigger investment, bigger manufacturers, those things, they don't want to come here and deal with the inventory tax.
Next to education, one of the most vital, I think, roles is economic development. You talked about trying to make the state more competitive, and you just mentioned raising taxes on 150 different corporations in the state. Is that what to make up for the film tax credits?
No. So that's so right now, I would say that the way Louisiana has operated is that we pick winners and losers, right? We create exemptions, we create credits, we create incentives, and we maintain very high rates, right? Well, when the government does that, obviously it's turns off everybody who doesn't qualify for those incentives, or especially the people that don't want to go and play that game, right? You have to hire a consultant, a lawyer, a lobbyist to try and get some kind of special tax break. And so the idea in this whole reform is to just lower the overall rates across the board. And what I'm talking about with the incentives is that for every incentive you give, you have to raise the rates on everybody else, right? And so what we're trying to do is actually do the opposite, is, cut back on some of these incentives and lower the rates for everybody. So our plan right now would propose a 3.5% corporate income tax rate and a doing away with of the corporate franchise tax. That would make us one of the most competitive states in the country, like I think maybe in the top 4. The Tax Foundation.
Let's do it.
The Tax Foundation has looked at this. They're kind of like one of the best, bodies that looks, reviews state tax policy, and they said basically we'd go from the bottom 10 to the top 10 as a result of this. And I'd like to point out, what else is Louisiana in the top 10 in? And so if we're in the top 10 in business climate for tax policy, that's a night and day change. I mean, you're going to see the cranes in Shreveport building buildings just like you see in Texas, because we'd actually be more competitive in Texas than Texas in these tax measures, which would be a huge deal.
The legislative session is November next month. It's a special session to go over this whole tax policy. Are you optimistic that lawmakers are going to move the whole plan forward, or are you a little bit nervous?
Well, I was in the legislature before, so I know nothing comes out the same way that it goes in. I think a lot of thought and effort and energy, and we've worked with them and the other stakeholders to try to build a package that we could get through. With that said, there's still ongoing negotiations right now. I'm sure even in the legislative session, even though it's brief, there's going to be changes. But I'm optimistic that something positive will come out of it. I'm optimistic we can make some really big changes for the state, and I think it's going to be a great thing. And
then when does it go to me? When do I get to vote on it?
So on the constitutional amendment piece, part of the reason for doing the special session is that so you can vote on it in March. And so that way those changes, especially the flexibility in the funds, some of the permanent teacher pay raises that get paid for by paying off a lot of debt, those things will be basically able to be taken up in the legislative session because those constitutional changes hopefully will be approved by the people in March.
Gosh, let's move Louisiana forward.
Yeah, maybe our kids will return. That'd be nice.
That sounds awesome, making us more competitive as a state.
This would be a night and day change. I mean, I can't underestimate or undersell how big of a deal this is.
Why haven't we done it before?
It's very, very difficult. I mean, there's a lot of
Democrat-run governor.
There's a lot of different interests. It's not even really that much of a partisan issue as it is like you got the locals, you got business groups, you got different industries, you got different parishes that have different problems. And you really just have this culture in Louisiana of everybody wants to be Santa Claus and hand out special benefits forever, as opposed to just saying, let's just make it low and competitive. And so we're getting rid of that Huey Long mentality of every, chicken in every pot. How do we tax and give everybody a special break and just have low and competitive rates? But this is literally the biggest thing that will happen since
that's exciting.
Maybe the Louisiana Purchase.
Sorry, I called you wonky.
Richard Nelson.
You sound like my wife.
Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking with you again.
No worries. Thanks
Mike
for
and
having
McCarty.
me.
Coming up, by the way, Kamala was on Fox News. She actually stepped up and did an interview with Fox News.
And answered every question?
Hear what she has to say. Yeah, I've got some clips from that interview coming up after the news, bottom of the hour. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Well, Kamala was on Fox News with Brett Baier yesterday. Very interesting. Very interesting. The things she didn't say.
Okay.
And the things that she did.
Sorry, I missed it.
I need some salad dressing. What's next? 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty. Download that free KEEL app.
News and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
That's weird. Well, kudos to Brett Baier. I don't know if you've watched much of it.
None. I saw clips in the news.
He wasn't letting her getting away with anything. Kamala Harris was on Fox News. I mean, they're desperate. If she goes on Fox News, that shows you how desperate they are. Polling info, Trump always underpolls, historically.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting, especially in key states and the battleground states. But she can't run on her record, Aaron. She can't run on the past 4 years. And the very first question that Brett asked was about, illegal immigration. And she couldn't answer the question. She wouldn't answer the question.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies.
Within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people.
But what's the number? Borders are?
And what have you done for 3.5 years?
Yeah. Going on 4 years now.
Right.
And she wants to turn the page. Let me be perfectly clear. She loves saying things like this. Mm-hmm. All these catchphrases that we've heard 1,000 times. Let me be perfectly clear. But I love Brett asked her, okay, you want to turn the page? Listen how she responds.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
And Donald Trump has been she can't run on her record. She can't answer the first question. All they have is TDS. Mm-hmm. Trump derangement syndrome.
Yep.
That's all she has is hatred.
Mm.
And here she starts raging on Trump, talking about him locking up political opponents.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
Trump's unstable, but she lied about Biden for years.
She absolutely did.
I mean, she looked in the camera and lied about...
he's perfectly fine.
Because everybody knew. Mm-hmm. I mean, we knew, not behind closed doors.
She was one of the few after the debate that stood up for him. After the whole world saw his bumbling debate, and she stood up for him.
And here's where she's talking about locking. I got those two clips mixed, but here's where she's talking about locking up political. This is where she really starts raging.
He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
Who's trying to lock whom up?
He made some comments that they're blowing way up, and you know, we know he says stupid things sometimes. We get that. We understand that.
We also know trumped up charges have been brought forth. Misdemeanors that were trumped up to felonies. I mean, it's Who's trying to lock who up? It's ridiculous, and people are falling for it.
Right.
She can't. Can you imagine her? She can't handle Brett Baer. Can you imagine her in a room with Putin?
Oh, yeah.
Xing, the mullahs. I mean, they're hoping she gets elected. Iran is probably, and I don't know this, pumping millions into her campaign.
Early voting starts tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't
bank your vote.
let it get away from you.
19 days until election.
Go watch it. You'll have some fun. Get you some popcorn. Go watch the Brett Baer interview.
Take a Xanax before you do.
Yeah, exactly.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Back with Carty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
By the way, coming up next hour after the local news, we're going to talk with the former North Shreveport Business Association president about the land that was donated to the city for the police substation that's just turned into a freaking nightmare.
It's a mess.
My gosh.
It's a mess. Thanksgiving is, believe it or not, going to be here before you know it. Aldi has come out with this deal that they are rolling back their prices to pre-pandemic numbers. Have you seen this yet?
No.
For a family of 10, for a meal to serve 10, they're selling the 16-pound turkey, the dressing, the cranberry sauce, the pumpkin pie fixins, the mashed taters, stuffing, all that. The whole shebang for the meal for 10 people. Pick a price. I already told you, didn't I?
Yeah, you already told me.
Okay, so pick a price.
Well, I think, let's see, 10 people, maybe 120 bucks.
$47.
Are you a 16-pound turkey?
16-pound bird for a butterball.
Usually that's $40 by itself.
That's what I'm saying. Wow.
They have decided they're obviously losing money.
Something. I don't understand, but I appreciate it.
We do appreciate it.
Is this boxed and ready to go? How does that?
I'm not sure how it goes, but they have certain items that are on their list. You come in and you say, I want this Thanksgiving deal, and they'll give you the list of here's the items to get it to $47.
Oh my!
You go out. Now I know the hope is you're going to buy other stuff when you're there.
Of course.
You know?
That's why when you go into a grocery store, the milk and the eggs are in the back of the store.
Of course.
You know, the dairy's on one side of the store and the meat's on the other side of the store.
Right. Walmart's got a similar deal that they're doing for Thanksgiving, but it's $7 a pop. So it'd be $70, which is still a pretty good deal to feed 10 people.
Sure.
So, I think I'm just going to order it online and say, give me the $47 deal, whatever comes with it, just to have it. Because how cheap it is. And then don't add any splurges to it, And then you get a monster deal. I wonder if it's for pickup or you got to come in the store.
I would think you'd have to come in the store.
You'd have to.
You probably do. You probably do. That's probably part of the catch. You can see the full details on what's included and why the Aldi company decided to step up for this Thanksgiving. They're trying to give you a break.
Under $50 for Thanksgiving.
For 10 people.
10 people.
That's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. I'm surprised by that. I saw those numbers and I went, holy cow. Problem is I could eat 10 people's stuffing all by myself.
What? Oh, man. Stuffing or dressing?
I like to call it
difference?
Stuffing. I don't know. My brother makes the best. My brother's oyster dressing. Oh, it's the best.
Are there eggs in it?
No.
Boiled eggs?
No boiled. Get out of here. Where are you from, Montana?
Montana.
101.7 FM. Eggs in Montana. I don't know. 710 KEEL. What? .17 FM, 710 KEEL, and on the free KEEL app, Mike and McCarty.
And a troublemaker on the phone with us.
A troublemaker? Okay, sorry.
I'm messing with you.
Peter Hayes is on the phone with us, Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline, past president for the North Shreveport Business Association. First of all, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
We're doing well. How did this turn into such just a freaking kerfuffle? What happened? North Shreveport Business Association donated property to the city to build a police substation, and it's just turned into a nightmare.
Yes, sir. It sure has. And this is after Chief Wayne Smith went around the city and had open town hall meetings back in 2022. I don't know if y'all remember when he was doing that under the Perkins administration. Mm-hmm. And one of those locations was the exact location we're discussing today.
Okay, you donated the property on North Market. The city has torn down the building, did some demolition work. They were going to go out for bids to build the new substation, but there's a problem in the deed. This is what council members are saying, that the deed says if the city does not use the property for police purposes for 25 years, the North Shreveport Business Association can take the property back. The big question is the NSBA going to take that language out of the deed? Is your board agreeable to that?
We'll have to have a board meeting and discuss that, but I'd like you to inform me, as a listener of your program, which council members have issues with that language.
There are at least four. Least four that signed off on the letter. They're concerned that you guys might run back after they've built a $1.5 million building, and let's say in 23 years decide, we don't need a police substation there. We need it for SPAR. And North Shreveport might jump in and go, nah, we want it back. That's not your plan, is it?
The four council members...
Certainly not our plan, but yes, please tell me the four council members.
Yeah, the four council members were Tabitha Taylor, Grayson Butcher, James Green, and Ursula Bowman that signed this letter from yesterday in response to Mayor Arsenault saying he's pausing the bids on the construction of the police substation.
Well, just to kind of go through a little bit of history of what all the processes have been. In 2022, as I mentioned previously, Chief Wayne Smith went around and had town halls on police substations. This is after the bond issue was passed in 2021. In late 2022, we actually donated this property when Mayor Perkins was at control as mayor, but it did not go through the proper process for the city to accept during his administration. Once Arsenault came on board, we went through the process and donated it, with Arsenault signing the donation in February of 2023. It then went through a city council process. There was a reading, I believe that happened in May of 2023. And then in the next meeting, on June the 7th of 2023, one council member Grayson Butcher, passed Resolution 104 of 2023, accepting the donation after that information had been made public. The council had time to read it. The city attorney had time to read it. And at that point in time, all that language was acceptable to the city.
So they had access to that deed, because they claimed in the last meeting the mayor didn't see the deed. They didn't see the language in the deed. You're saying they did.
It's absolutely in the donation. You can see that. It was part of the reading. It was part of what was accepted. And again, Council Member Grayson Butcher made the motion to accept it. Resolution number 104 of 2023.
So what's gone sideways since then? What do you suspect? It's something else?
Suspect? I have no idea. I'll be at the city council meeting today. Maybe I'll be enlightened onto the change, but we have to keep in mind there was a 30-year bond that was passed. We're asking that for the first 25 years that it's used for its intended purpose. And if the city decides after 5 years that they want to sell it, then that's not the intended purpose of our donation.
Okay. If they want to use it for SPAR, are y'all going to run in and take the building back?
I'd have to go back and read the language and get with the board, and if there's some type of resolution that the city would like us to pass And if we would agree to that, we would certainly be open to having a discussion. But again, why is it 18 months later an issue and not something that they should have read, they did read, and now they have a problem with it?
Now, I spoke with Jerry Jones, who was the attorney representing the North Shreveport Business Association, and I'm of the opinion, because some council members are now saying they may even give it back to you. They may give the land back to you, and he says, I don't know that the city can do that because it's now city property. And can they just give it to me? I want it. I'll take it.
Well, I do agree that I think that there is a gross misuse of public time and public money here, in the sense that we've gone through processes. The city was fully aware of the language in the deed, as well was the entire city council. This was given to them well in advance, and now they're finding some issues. And I really don't know what the concerns are. I haven't had a chance to listen to that, but I do know that there's been significant money spent on demolition, significant money spent on dirt work, and I'm going to say even significant money already drawn architectural plans for this site. And why would the city council want to delay progress in North Shreveport when they've had plenty of time to pick this issue up if this was truly an issue? But I suspect that maybe something more is at play. I just don't know what it is.
Well, I think we've already spent $200,000 just on the demolition to get rid of that old plant that was there.
No, I completely agree, and that's not to mention the dirt work. And I'm going to also say, architectural bills for a building like this are usually in the tens of thousands. So yes, I would say the total's probably northward of $250,000 plus that the city has already spent.
Peter Hayes, former president of the North Shreveport Business Association. I'm hearing, and you tell me if you're hearing this, and again, not true, I'm not saying it's true, that there may be some on the council that would prefer a different location, further north, closer to the MLK area. Are you hearing any of that chatter at all?
I mean, yes, I am hearing that chatter. But again, I go back to, I believe all these city council members have been in place for more than a couple of years. And this process started back in 2021 with the bond issue, and was then had site selections in 2022. And all of these council members were invited to the town halls. I know I went to one of the town halls, and I don't remember seeing a single city council member at that town hall. Maybe they went to the other town hall meetings, or maybe they didn't go to any of the town halls. I really don't know.
Well, we'll watch and see. There are meetings happening today. You guys will be there, I'm sure. It's quite the kerfuffle.
Yes, it is. I hope the city will realize that they need to use taxpayer dollars wisely, and that they actually follow through with this program that's already in place, and not try to pivot elsewhere, because there has been significant dollars of our tax dollars collectively as a community spent on this project.
Mm-hmm.
But you're amenable to adjusting those lease requirements to something.
I'm saying is that if the city would like some language drawn up that amends that to some degree, that we would take that to the board, and the board would heavily consider that. I cannot guarantee which way the board would go.
Right.
I'm one of a dozen board members.
But you think you're open to discussion at least. So
I'm open to the discussion, and I'm open to presenting it to the board at an appropriate time. Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Peter. We appreciate your time.
Y'all have a good day. Thank you.
Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Tom.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
I love it when I can open windows at the house.
Yes.
I love it.
It's so awesome.
Day before yesterday in the evening, I actually turned the AC off and opened some windows.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
it was.
Nice.
Cool.
It is. It's
last night, I went through closing windows.
Got a little nipply, didn't it?
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I actually fired up the heater in the living room.
Yeah.
Our gas heater.
Oh, boy.
It was nice.
Very nice. Got something on my Facebook page I need your help with because I am so competitive. I want to beat these two ultramaroons in this room. I mean these two wonderful gentlemen. There's a pothole that I reported on the new what is it called, 311 system?
Port City 311.
Yeah, I reported it on there. And we're now taking bets when this pothole will be fixed. And let me look at my list because I think it'll be fixed by the end of business tomorrow. Wow. You're going to laugh out loud?
Wow.
Ruben thinks it'll be fixed sometime this weekend. And you said 90 days.
At least 90 days. Come on.
No way.
Now that I'm thinking about it, Mike's feels more realistic.
And now people are putting on my page 2027. 2026.
Right.
February 2032.
Oh, no.
Please, people. It's not that bad, is it? I'm hoping I can get this. I want to win the bet. Because y'all will both owe me $100.
And you say by the end of the day today, $100. Whoa,
when did we say $100?
Yeah. Who threw that in there?
End of business tomorrow.
I don't bet with my money. I work too hard for it.
End of business tomorrow. This pothole is
Friday.
fixed.
You say by the end of the week.
End of the week, Friday. Yeah. Ruben says this weekend, so when I come to work Monday, it'll be fixed.
So apparently I say, what is this, October?
Easter.
November, December, January. Yeah, New Year.
Mardi Gras time. Oh, man.
Hey, I hope I'm wrong. I hope you get it done.
So that's why I'm doing this little bit on the radio. Fix my pothole. You got a day. Fix it.
Now you just gained an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
Because when you submit it through the 311, they don't know who it is.
They don't know who it is, yeah.
It just
now they know.
We don't care.
You know, you ain't trying if you ain't cheating.
Wow, you are a Democrat, aren't you?
Oh,
wow.
No, I'm not. I think they fix it. I have optimism. I'm optimistic they'll fix it.
You're hopeful.
Hopeful.
That's different from optimistic.
Okay.
I'm hopeful.
This is a pothole damaging cars, though.
I'm
really
hopeful the Saints will do something tonight, but I ain't optimistic.
Okay.
Half our team is out.
Right.
We've lost 4 in a row. We're playing Sean Payton.
Welcoming Sean Payton home.
And Drew
Brees. Do they
boo
him tonight?
No.
They don't?
Come on, no.
Some are saying he might get some boos.
Yeah, he might.
We'll see.
Now, Drew Brees is in the house because they're going to recognize him for
He's put him in the game.
Being inducted. Shut up. Let me finish. I'm Kamala. May I finish? I'm trying to finish. They're inducting him into the Saints Hall of Fame. I say, suit up, baby.
Absolutely.
Derek Carr's out. Oblique injury. I don't even know what an oblique is. I know it's in your side somewhere.
Yeah, down over here somewhere.
Oh. Now, there's a plethora of oblique injuries. I asked Fletch this morning, all these injuries, across the NFL.
Right.
Is this a training issue? Are they not being trained properly to, prepare their bodies? But you look at these linemen nowadays. Remember, linemen used to be 350 pounds, and it was blubber. I'm sorry. These guys were just freaking huge.
Big old guts, yeah.
And now they're machines. They're solid.
Yep.
They're 325 pounds, but it's all mass and mud.
I know.
Now more breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Well, if you missed Kamala's interview yesterday on Fox News, I've got some highlights, or should I say lowlights, coming up after the break. Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.com.
Now trending? Fall. And DSW's here with all the obsession-worthy shoe trends you need in your closet. Feeling fierce? DSW's got bold snake print boots and a retro sneaker with animal print details. Going for demure? Kitten heels are the eye-catching yet walkable heel all over your feet and all over DSW. From edgy moto boots to sweetly simple ballet flats, find the must-own shoe trends of the season right now at your DSW store or DSW.com.
Stories of the day with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Well, kudos to Brett Baer. I don't know if you've watched much of it.
None. I saw clips in the news.
He wasn't letting her getting away with anything. Kamala Harris was on Fox News. I mean, they're desperate. If she goes on Fox News, that shows you how desperate they are. Mm-hmm. Polling info, Trump always underpolls, historically.
Right.
So it'll be very interesting, especially in key states and the battleground states. But she can't run on her record, Aaron. She can't run on the past 4 years. And the very first question that Brett asked was about, illegal immigration. And she couldn't answer the question. She wouldn't answer the question.
How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies.
Within hours of taking the oath was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people.
But what's the number? Borders are.
And what have you done for 3.5 years?
Yeah. Going on 4 years now.
Right.
And she wants to turn the page. Let me be perfectly clear. She loves saying things like this. Mm-hmm. All these catchphrases that we've heard 1,000 times. Let me be perfectly clear. But I love Brett asked her, okay, you want to turn the page? Listen how she responds.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we have been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
And Donald Trump has been she can't run on her record. She can't answer the first question. All they have is TDS. Mm-hmm. Trump derangement syndrome.
Yep.
That's all she has is hatred. Mm. And here she starts raging on Trump, talking about him locking up political opponents.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now he's unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
Trump's unstable, but she lied about Biden for years.
She absolutely did.
I mean, she looked in the camera and lied.
Oh, he's perfectly fine.
Because everybody knew. I mean, we knew, not behind closed doors.
She was one of the few after the debate that stood up for him. After the whole world saw his bumbling debate, and she stood up for him.
And here's where she's talking about locking up. I got those two clips mixed, but here's where she's talking about locking up political. This is where she really starts raging.
He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
Who's trying to lock whom up?
He made some comments that they're blowing way up, and you know, we know he says stupid things sometimes. We get that. We understand that.
We also know trumped up charges have been brought forth. Misdemeanors that were trumped up to felonies. I mean, it's who's trying to lock who up? It's ridiculous, and people are falling for it.
Right.
She can't. Can you imagine her? She can't handle Brett Baer. Can you imagine her in a room with Putin?
Oh, yeah.
Xing, the mullahs. I mean, they're hoping she gets elected. Iran is probably, and I don't know this, pumping millions into her campaign.
Early voting starts tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. Bank your vote.
Let it get away from you.
19 days until election.
Go watch it. You'll have some fun. Get you some popcorn. Go watch the Brett Baer interview.
Take a Xanax before you do.
Yeah, exactly.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Back in McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Okay, last night, Ruby, I started the Vince McMahon documentary.
Seen it. It's
wild.
Yeah.
I'm not a wrestling fan at all.
You don't have to be.
No,
to watch
you don't.
This.
Well, I remember you saying that, so I said, well, okay, well, let me turn it on. I like documentaries.
What a nut job.
I'm to the point. I don't even think I made it all the way through the first episode yet, only because I go to bed relatively early.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
So it was almost sympathetic towards him at the very first, but they did say all of these 120 hours of interviews from all of these people were recorded before these really serious allegations came out.
Yeah.
Against McMahon, and apparently pretty hideous stuff.
Yeah, some pretty nasty stuff. Absolutely.
Did you ever get to Matlock, which I told you to watch 300 years ago?
Okay, I went to, you said it was on Hulu, right?
It's a CBS show, so I don't know who streams their stuff.
Well, I went to Hulu. Matlock, of course, the Andy Griffith version is on.
Okay.
There was the new one. I said, okay. Only available to stream if you have Hulu Plus Live TV, which I do not.
Do I have Hulu Plus Live TV?
How'd you watch it?
Am I paying for premium Hulu? Because I definitely watched it on Hulu. It popped right up for me.
Oh, well, then you must have the live TV because it wouldn't work for me.
No wonder I'm so broke all the time.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't even want to start with what all I'm paying.
Well, you know what? It comes on the regular TV. You can get those some foil and put it on your TV.
Yeah, that ain't
and you'll get Channel 12 and watch it this week when it comes on.
That ain't happening.
If you haven't watched Matlock yet, the new one with Kathy Bates,
it's got to be someplace for crying out loud.
Yeah, you got to find it. It really is exceptional.
I'll check like Pluto TV when I get home.
Okay.
And those free ones, you'll have to watch it with commercials.
Well, see, I do pay for the Hulu without commercials.
Right.
You should have it on there.
But I don't pay for the live TV.
Paramount has all their stuff.
I don't pay for Paramount.
Okay.
You got to draw the line someplace.
I know.
My gosh.
I know. But I'm telling you, Matlock, the ending, you will never see it coming. Never, ever, ever.
It's wild.
Kathy Bates is incredible. It's one of those shows I highly recommend.
I haven't seen a second episode yet, but I think maybe it's coming this week.
I think it might be tonight.
Maybe tonight.
Maybe so. Don't watch episode 2 until you watch episode 1.
Right.
Okay. New Matlock series is available to stream on Paramount Plus. Mm-hmm. Don't have it. Fubo TV has commercials. Direct TV Stream, don't have it. Hulu with live TV, don't have it. And YouTube TV. I have YouTube TV.
Go find it there.
Yeah.
So where is it on YouTube TV? I guess you can just pull it up.
Yeah.
I didn't put it in my preferences, though.
You got to go watch that. It really is good.
Okay.
It really is. You're going to go, wow, why didn't I watch? And then I think the new episode is tonight. So
yes.
watch the first one early, and then you can go.
Well, I'm going to watch as much of the Saints game as I can.
Yeah. It's Sean Payton returns to the Superdome.
But they're inducting Drew Brees, or honoring Drew Brees into the Saints Hall of Fame. So
oh, wow.
I love me some Drew Brees.
I think they should put Drew in the game themselves. I'm fine with that.
Brees. Oh, suit him up.
What a good guy. Yeah, no kidding. We need him up. We can't lose again.
Oh, we've lost 4 in a row. And not only Drew, Peyton, Taysom Hill is out. Olave is out. My gosh, I'm having a stroke.
So many people are gone.
More are out than are playing. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be.
It's going to be a rough night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Early voting starts tomorrow. Don't forget, runs through the 29th of October.
I am voting tomorrow.
You bet. Get it done.
Download the Go Vote app, by the way. Mm-hmm. GEAUX, Go Vote. Download that app. You'll know what's on your ballot and get it taken care of.
Yes.
Bank that vote, baby. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.